Out of the West comes America's famous fighting cowboy.
Go on and yell if you want to, but the least you can do is give me a chance to defend myself.
Well, defend yourself and be hanged, Ryder. On account of you, we've lost 20,000 head of cattle. And now that I know that telegram was a fake and not sent by the railroad, I feel exactly like the other ranchers do. I think you're nothing but a low-down cattle-rustling thief.
Hey, now, did you hear that? Red Ryder accused of being a cattle rustler, and apparently the ranchers accusing him have got some kind of proof. Well, it all adds up to one whale of a lot of entertainment in our Western adventure yarn, Roar of the River, with Red Ryder, Buckskin, and Little Beaver in action every inch of the way. Red Ryder, like all ranchers, has a full week's work, most every week, on the Painted Valley Ranch. Yet, with a sniff of spring just around the corner, it's hard for America's famous fighting cowboy not to start roaming just a little with Buckskin and faithful Little Beaver close by his side. Thus, as we join them now, we find them on the trail high above Rainbow River on the bend that sweeps between Sombrero and Sundown.
Well, boys, how do you like it?
Lily's to lady things, Red. From here, the river looks like a painting in a book. Red, what's that noise? Red, it sounds like the call of a werewolf.
Werewolf? No, Buckskin. That had nothing to do with departed spirits. That, my lad, was a steamboat whistle. See it? Down there?
Oh, me see him. Oh, just coming around the bend. What's those funny things on the side of the boat, Red Ryder? They look like water wheels.
Oh, those are the paddles, Little Beaver. The paddles that drive the boat. That's why she's called a side-wheeler.
Side-wheeler, hmm? They say, is a side-wheeler anything like a sidewinder, Red?
What an imagination. No, old-timer. Although on the Mississippi you often find sidewinders wearing silk hats and dealing poker with marked decks.
You want to know what make them that funny noise. Ooh, it sounded like coming from...
Hey, hold it. Who? Understand, boy. Now, there's a noise that ought to be familiar to you. Gunshots.
Yes, sounds more like home. Where'd your man shots come from, Red?
Down in that valley. A man and a girl with some cattle. Come on, let's get a wiggle on. We're going to investigate.
You know what you're telling me? Lean off. Get him up, Catwood. Get him on.
All right, let's go, Thunder. Let's help that rancher. Go, Thunder.
Side-winded rustling coyotes. Look at them, cutting out half the herd.
Dad, give me that six-gun and take this Winchester. I just reloaded it.
Yeah, give me that blasted thing. Now, if that maverick on the chestnut will only hold still a minute. Oh, consarn it, I missed him again.
Dad, look. Something's happening.
Huh?
The rustlers are turning and running.
Well, look at that, will you? A couple of punchers and an Indian kid. Got between the rustlers and the river, and they're coming throwing lead like a hailstorm.
Look at them scatter, will you, Dad? Gosh, that one cowboy certainly can handle a gun.
Yeah, that Indian papoose don't do so bad with that little bow and arrow. Come on, Connie, I want to thank that gentleman.
Hold it, Bobby. Are you folks all right?
Well, I guess we are. All except for Dad's disposition.
Yes, sir, I never saw a more welcome sight than you knocking on that stallion.
You scattered those rustlers like dried leaves in a windstorm.
Well, if they'd have known there were only three of us, we'd have probably be signing receipts for a harp and a halo right now.
You never mind any harps. You don't sing too good anyhow.
Can't argue that point with you, Buckskin. Oh, by the way, Came up in such a hurry, I forgot to introduce ourselves. My name's Ryder. This redskin's known as Little Beaver. The old-timer answers to the name of Buckskin.
I'm Connie Wilson, Mr. Ryder.
Proud to meet up
And
here.
this is my dad.
I sure owe you a lot, Mr. Ryder. You saved me from
Now,
having
suppose we let the thanks go for the moment, Mr. Wilson, see if we can't round up your cattle. Another few minutes and they'll have wandered all over the next 10 counties. Little Beaver, help Miss Connie on her horse and let's ride. What was that you were saying, Mr. Wilson, about the rustlers?
Well, just what I told you, Red. There are half a dozen crooked no-goods in Sombrero, I suspect. But suspecting don't prove nothing.
Prove? But, Dad, you know full well who was behind it. Or if he wasn't behind it, he had his finger in it somehow or other.
Well, who's that, Miss Connie?
Well, I know who Connie means. Jip Hinkle, the cattle broker over at Sombrero. We've been selling through him for the last few years until we found out he was practically making his own prices. So this season, we all decided to drive to Sombrero, put our beef on the cattle cars, and ship them ourselves.
I see. And he's the one man who could really benefit from stopping you?
Benefit? It means his entire business.
Rustling's good business for anybody.
Yeah, good business, Buckskin, but not a very healthy one. Is there anybody else you suspect, Mr. Wilson?
Well, the way I feel now, I suspect everybody. But Jip Hinkle certainly makes more sense than anybody else.
Uh-huh. Isn't there any other way that you can get to market besides driving into Sombrero and shipping from there?
Oh, I wish there were. There's that one little dinky railroad line, and that's all. You see, Mr. Ryder, that river practically shuts this valley off from the rest of the world.
Well, how far is Sombrero from here?
From a ranch? Oh, just 7 or 8 miles. Why?
Well, after a heavy meal like the one you just fixed, Miss Connie, a little exercise might come in handy. So I just thought we might sort of ride into Sombrero, and, well, if I happen to run into Jip Hinkle, the time won't be wasted.
Jip. Take it easy, Paulie. What's eating on you?
Nothing on me. I got a hunch something will be eating on you pronto.
What are you talking about?
Remember I told you about a puncher in a red shirt who run us off just as we were about to grab Wilson's cattle?
Yeah, what about him?
He just rode into town. I heard him down the block asking some of the boys out in front of the Ace of Hearts where he could find you. Boss, I got an awful feeling we're in for it. I seen him handle that 6-shooter.
Handy with his guns, huh? What do you think would happen if someone kind of stepped on that redhead's toes and then when he yelled, talked back to him?
You stop them riddles, boss.
Look, you're getting out of here, and when you see him heading this way, you're picking a fight with him. You get that?
I get it, but I sure don't like it. Suppose he recognizes me. Suppose
you shut up and do as you're told. All I want is for that Jasper to start grabbing his gun, that's all. We got a sheriff in this town. I'm going to have that redhead in trouble right up to his neck.
Cattle broker's office across street, Red Ryder.
Yes, it is, son. Look at that hawk-faced maverick just coming out of it.
Looks more like a buzzard than a hawk.
In a pinch, either one would be bad enough. Well, maybe this pinch is coming sooner than I expect. He's heading right this way.
Hey, why don't you look where you're going?
I didn't think I had to. You looked as if you saw where you were going.
Yeah, you're pretty salty, ain't you?
Not very. Why?
What are you trying to do? Make a joke out of this? It ain't funny to me, Redhead.
Now, maybe that's because you've got your sense of humor recorded in Jip Hinkle's name.
You're on the prod, ain't you? Well, I'll tell you something, mister. We've got an answer for troublemakers around this town.
If that's true, what are you doing roaming the streets?
Well, I'll show you.
Go on. Show me. But isn't this more like what you mean?
Something else for you, Redhead.
Here. What's going on? I'll tell you what's going on, Sheriff. I saw the whole thing.
That's very interesting. What were you doing? Watching with a spyglass? You just came out of that door.
That'll be enough out of you, young fella. What happened, Hinkle?
This redhead knocked this other gent down, then wasn't satisfied. Tried to blow him full of holes.
And drawed first, did he?
He most certainly did.
Well, you're most certainly a liar.
I want an apology right now.
You know how you can get one, don't you? Empty your holster.
Why, you know...
I wanted you to see that, Sheriff. I thought maybe it'd convince you if I drew first on that other polecat, he'd be at the undertaking parlors right now.
Well, now, Hinkle said he saw you.
And I called Hinkle a liar. I'll increase that bid. I'll make it a dyed-in-the-wool, congenital, two-faced liar. And, Sheriff, if you're interested in stopping the rustling south of the river, ask Hinkle some questions. And if you don't get the right answers, you better get some additional deputies, because this range is going to be blown wide open.
Well, now, America's famous fighting cowboy certainly made monkeys out of Jip Hinkle, Poley, and probably the sheriff, which might have been the wrong thing to do. But there's one thing certain. Red got close to the bottom of the rancher's mystery fast, and he's standing right on the brink of getting his proof. Something else that's certain is the fun you'll get from eating Dr. Penland's Vitamin B1 wheat bread. And when you know about the rich wheat flour, the pure malt sugar, the real honey that's baked into this bread, there's no mystery about your fun at all. Dr. Penland's has a downright scrumptious, old-fashioned wheaty flavor. A flavor that makes a hit with every boy and girl who tastes it. And Dr. Penland's gives you vitamin B1. Now, doctors say to keep up normal health, everybody needs to get at least 333 units of vitamin B1 every day. Well, that's what you get when you eat 2 slices of Dr. Penland's with each of your 3 daily meals. So, for eating that's fun and nutritious, eat Dr. Penland's Vitamin B1 wheat bread. And now back to Roar of the River, our rootin' tootin' Red Ryder story. Following Rainbow River, Red, Buckskin, and Little Beaver have ridden into Sombrero on the tail of a cyclone of flying fists, sizzling lead, and choking gun smoke. As we rejoin them now, we find them on the porch of the Wilson's Tumbling W Ranch. Wilson is doubled up in laughter.
Doggone it, Red. I'd have given $1,000 to have seen you taking care of Jip and that gun-toting polecat of his.
But, Red, what do you think we ought to do? Try to drive to the railhead again?
Yes, but not alone. Why can't you get a half a dozen of you ranchers, band yourself together, and make a big drive? And that way, if those murdering mavericks did come after you again, you'd at least be able to give them a run for their money.
What do you think, Dad?
Well...
Would it be possible to have Shaw, the freight agent for the railroad, get enough cars to carry that much cattle at one time?
Well, there's only one way to find out. Ask them. I think that's a darn good idea, Red. If they want to gang up on us, we'll just gang up on them, huh?
You betcha. If they try on something, we shoot them plenty full of arrows.
Now, that's the spirit, Little Beaver. Never let them say they can keep a good man down.
Well, how about it? Either one of you like to ride into Sombrero with me again and talk to the freight agent? We'll get the horses ready. But I've got a feeling in my bones we're still a long way from selling your cattle and having the money in the bank.
Over this way, Red. There's a hitch rack right behind the freight depot.
Who's under? Who, boy?
Oh, there he is. Just coming out of the office. Oh, Mr. Shaw. Mr. Shaw.
Connie, I thought you and your pa were going to ship your cattle yesterday.
Oh, we were, but that's a long story. What I wanted to find out from you is, could you get enough cars ready this week to handle 20,000 head if several of us decided to ship together?
I reckon I could, miss. Railroad business has been pretty slow lately.
Well, that's fine. Glad you can do it. If we can drive into Sombrero tomorrow night, will you have enough cars by then to accommodate us?
That's something I can't say, mister, but if we haven't got enough cars then, there's plenty of room in the holding pens till we get here, so come ahead.
Well, thanks, Shaw. And if everything goes off all right, you can be expecting us by this time tomorrow.
Boy.
Come on, shake it up, Buckskin. Come on, it's almost sunup now, and you're still eating breakfast.
All the time, hurry up, hurry up.
Come on.
It's not my fault Miss Connor's a good cook. Oh, the cows can wait.
Never mind that back talk. There are 20,000 head of cattle and 50 men waiting, just for you. Now let those griddle case go. Come on.
See, Red, you hear that? This here ain't no day to have a cattle drive.
Thunder or not, if we're going to have this drive at all, we've got to do it fast. Otherwise, Jip Hinkle's going to have time to reorganize his plans to offset ours.
We don't care. We don't like him. Indians always learn thunder as voice of war gods. You drive him now, you catch him plenty trouble.
If you don't stop stuffing hotcakes into your mouth, you little pessimist, you're going to feel like you've been hit with hotcakes all over. Come on now, trouble or no trouble. We're getting those cattle through.
Buckskin, get out there to the right. Tell those bunches to start knocking on that herd.
Hey! Sit down! Get up there!
How do you like our weather, Red?
Oh, it's great weather. For ducks or rustlers.
What do you mean, rustlers?
You're a fine one to ask that. With this mud underfoot, we'd have to swim after them.
Well, keep your poncho on, Red, and your fingers crossed. We're not over 4 miles from Sombrero now.
Yeah, maybe so. But if this rain keeps up, this valley's going to be just another channel in the Rainbow River. All right, Thunder. Come on, move. Move, Thunder.
Jeepers, boss. You cut out that pacing, you're acting like a catamount in a cage.
What of it? It's just the way I feel. When everything's set to beat Ryder and them cattlemen to the punch, it's got to come up a storm.
You better think of something, because once they get them into those railroad cars...
Oh, wait a minute. All those cars come in yet?
Well, I think so, boss. Once that train pulls out, you'll be out, too. Out of business.
You think so? Well, I won't be if you do as you're told.
Do what as I'm told?
You know where that little railroad switching station is? About 16 miles down the track from sundown?
Yeah.
Maybe this rainstorm was a blessing in disguise. Now go get your horse and 2 of your boys, and bring plenty of lead with you. You're going to make those ranchers wish they'd never been born.
All right, brother. Start reading.
What? Well, here, if you're trying to stick me up, this ain't no regular railroad office. It's just a dispatcher's telegraph office.
Never mind the explanations and sit right where you are. You're doing as you're told.
Here, now, looky. Here you...
I said you're doing as you're told.
Why, you sidewinding ugly face. Here, get your skirt up.
All right, boys. Pick him up and put him back in his chair. When he wakes up, he'll do what we tell him.
Well, Red, I guess we owe you a big vote of thanks. I never thought when he started this morning we'd get all them cattle through.
To tell you the truth, Wilson, neither did I. Neither did Little Beaver. Did you, Little Beaver?
When we heard 'em thunderstorm, we never think of men get 'em through so easy.
Well, that just goes to prove, Little Beaver, that the thing people had to fear most is...
Ryder, hold it. Stop those men from loading the cattle.
Stop them. Why, Shaw? What's the matter?
Here, look for yourself. Telegram just came in from the switching station down the line. Storm washed out a rail between Big Rock and Sundown. Wash out? Well, oh, now, what the dickens are we going to do now?
You see? No laughing at what thunder means.
Now, just a minute, son. Shaw, how long will it take for the rails to be repaired?
Your guess is as good as mine, Ryder, but I'd say not over a day and a half.
Well, then, why can't we just leave the cattle here in the holding pens until the road's repaired and we're ready to ship? I'll stay here and guard the cattle. If anyone tries to rustle them, then that's going to be over my dead body.
Well, that's mighty nice of you, Red, but, well, I sort of wonder about leaving my cattle here.
Well, suit yourself about that. But if you keep driving them back and forth, you won't have any beef left on them.
Red's right, Dad. And if he'll stay here and keep an eye on them, I'm sure nothing's going to happen.
Oh, sure. Nothing's going to happen at all, no. Nothing but plenty of red-hot trouble.
Well, maybe Buckskin's right. Maybe there is nothing but trouble facing Red Ryder. Just what the trouble is and how badly it throws our red-headed cowboy friend will make up the slashing, dashing climax to our story of the West that lives forever. Well, there's one thing that is never any trouble for anyone. Yes, anyone nowadays can be sure of getting wonderful eating bread. How? Look for the new Langendorf 50th anniversary bread. Your first taste will tell you that this new Langendorf 50th anniversary bread is made from scrumptious, good ingredients, packed with downright good eating flavor. Mothers will notice something else, and that's the texture. So light and silky smooth, perfect for sandwiches. But no matter how you use this Langendorf 50th anniversary bread, whether it's in a sandwich or an after-school snack or with dinner, that tempting flavor and goodness will be there. And the freshness keeps for 5 full days. So don't any of you put off your first taste too long. Try this wonderful new bread today. It's Langendorf 50th anniversary bread, a triumph and America's finest. And now to find out if Buckskin's prophecy of trouble, red-hot trouble, comes true. Rejoining Red, we find that it's night, and Red, Buckskin, and Little Beaver, all three, are in the railroad holding pens guarding the cattle. Not 10 yards away, Jip Hinkle and his gang are slowly creeping up on the unsuspecting watchman.
Here's the redhead, Polly.
Yeah, got his back toward us now. The old man and the Indian kid's fast asleep.
All right, take it easy. Let's get right behind him before we jump him. Okay, now.
Double cross.
All right, Polly, let him have it. All right, you tie him up, Paulie. Tie him up good. Now the rest of you get started on that cattle. Yeah, this is going to be like taking all-day suckers from little babies.
Now, if you'd only listen. Now, don't go to yelling at the ranchers, Red. We got plenty of reason to be sore at you. You were going to guard the cattle with your life.
Well, what do you think I did with your beef? Barbecued it and ate it all up?
Now, look here. Being sarcastic ain't going to help now, Red. And you might as well know the truth. Since we found that telegram was a phony, and there weren't no washout, some of the ranchers down around Sundown are sure you had something to do with it. I agree. Sure.
Oh, doggone it. You can't make all that cattle vanish like that. And I say that... Hold on. What's the matter with all of us? I'll bet that's what's happened to the cattle.
What are you talking about?
With all the mud on the riverbanks from yesterday's rain, you could drive 100,000 head of cattle down there at night and no one would have heard it. And now with the sun out and the hoof prints all dried up, you can't tell...
what's the river got to do with the cattle disappearing?
Well, how else could they have gotten out of there without leaving a trail if they weren't taken on a boat? All right, men, you're blaming me for this. So how about giving me a chance to prove you're wrong? Come on, get those horses. Let's roar.
Well, Polly, how you enjoying your book?
I'd enjoy it a lot more if I didn't have to have a lot of cattle for my fellow passengers.
Well, in another couple of hours, when we get the money for them, you'll be able to afford the presidential suite at the best hotel in town. We certainly put it over on that redhead and his friends, didn't we?
Didn't even leave a trace.
What the dickens? Hey, Polly, look. There on the shore.
That'll be a possum's grandfather. Jip, them ranchers. What are they going to do?
Hey, Cap, get this barge out in the middle of the river and open her up.
Jip, chocolate cats. You see what they're up to?
Yeah.
Nice throwing it. They got the little Indian kid shooting flaming arrows. One of them arrows just landed the bale of feed and it's caught fire.
Why, those dirty... Captain! I don't care if the boilers do blow up. Show us some speed.
thunder, old boy. Keep right on swimming. How are you doing, little beaver?
We're swimming like champions.
And you shot those flaming arrows like a little champion. Look at that hay burn. Easy now, boys. Got to catch those ropes that are hanging over the stern and get up on board.
I'm watching, Red.
Okay, Buckskin. All right, then grab hold now. All right, pull. Pull. Watch it. We're almost up to the deck. Now.
Jim, look out. The redhead is just on board.
Don't try to pick up that gun.
Duck, Buckskin.
Now, Mr. Cattle Broker, we'll just show you what it feels like to be really broken. Broken in two.
Red, you knocked the sidewinder overboard.
Never mind him, old-timer. He's so full of hot air, he'll float for hours. What we've got to do now is run this boat into the nearest bank and get off these 20,000 head of cattle. Once we get them into their pens, we're going to have a couple of nice stone pens for these other cattle we just caught.
Anytime you want a job bossing my ranch, just say the word.
Oh, don't be silly, Dad. A man who can sail a riverboat the way Red did the one with the cattle can be an admiral in the Navy.
Yeah, I guess you mean the horse marines, Miss Connie. Well, folks, we got a lot of distance to cover, so how about it, fellas, eh?
Yeah, little Beaver's got to buy new arrows now, too, so get up, Sister Bill.
So long. See ya.
Goodbye.
All right, pile after him, Thunder. Let's go, boys. Come on.
Listen again this Thursday and every Tuesday and Thursday night for the adventures of Red Ryder. And starting next week, Red Ryder will come to you 1 hour earlier.